Hi folks, Tim here, and welcome back to Elmendorfacres. Well, today we're going to be boiling some sap. We've got a full nurse tank and a full tank at the bottom of the hill, which means I've got 550 gallons sitting behind the sugar house, and there's some more in the woods. We had a very successful boil a couple days ago with 435 gallons boiled, and we drew off just over 11 gallons of finished product. But we're starting to run out of wood because I didn't really know exactly how much I was going to need for this season. So we're going into the woods and cutting standing dead pine and using that to fire the evaporator, which works really, really well. And the nice thing with this is it's junk wood anyway. It is not something that we are going to use to heat our house. It's not even anything we would sell for campfire wood. You know, it's got some rot around the edges. You can see how it's just falls apart, right? It's got that rot around the edges. So it's not something that we would use to sell in any way, but it makes great wood for the evaporator. Now I've got my old splitter here at the house, and the Wolf Ridge is up at the property. But one of the benefits of having the old splitter here is this splitter works pretty good for the junk pine. So that's today's project. We got to cut more wood. I want to start today with at least 2 full totes, if not 3. And I've got 2 full totes left up at the property, but I kind of like to keep them there as spares for a time when maybe I don't have time to cut the firewood. So I'm trying to get this firewood cut this morning. This is an older log splitter. Had it for a while. And I was working with it yesterday, and I managed to break the recoil rope, starter rope. So I'm going to fix that here this morning before we get going. And we'll see how we do. So one of the things that definitely happens in our line of work is no matter how good you take care of stuff, things still break down. And this log splitter is probably, how old is this thing? Oh, somewhere in the area of 6 or 8 years old. I haven't really kept super good track. And there's always stuff to fix, right? No matter how good you take care of things, there's still things that break and need a little bit of attention. And oftentimes, we do that on rainy days, but in today's case, we need to fix this before I can split wood for the day. Like I said, I have the Wolf Ridge, and it works really, really well. But for this somewhat rotten stuff, or the real lightweight stuff, it tends to not work quite as well, and everything has a limitation and what it's made for. And the Wolf Ridge is not made to split wood like this. It would certainly work just fine, but it just doesn't make sense to run it, bring it down to the house where we've got our sugar shack. So there are always things to be done when you own your own business, or if you have any machinery whatsoever. There's always stuff that needs to be done, whether you want to do it or not. Just got to get this back together. There we go. And if you've never replaced one of these before, you take that faceplate off and you just spin it so that when it recoils, it pulls that string back in. And this is a fairly common thing to have happen. It is not at all uncommon for these to break, especially as they start getting older. So when you do that, you tension it, put your screwdriver through there, just so it doesn't spin back. And you find your hole to feed it through, and your other hole to feed it through. Takes a little bit of tinkering to get it, but not terrible. Keep that screwdriver so you don't lose where you are. And then just a simple knot. A little chilly out here today. We boiled the other day, it was real windy, and it's looking like it might be windy again today. Not ideal, it kind of blows everything around. So windy the other day, it actually blew the stack cover closed. And then this just pulls itself back in, just like that. So pretty simple. This is how they work if you've never seen one work. When that pulls out, it pulls those tabs out. That's what turns the engine over. So nice and simple, nice and easy. It was an easy fix for first thing this morning, which is always a pleasure. It's not often that things go quite that smoothly. And actually, for this part, I think a nut driver would be the appropriate tool to use. I run back into my garage here and grab a nut driver and put that back. 5/16 nut driver, it looks like, is the appropriate tool. And mine are a little bit magnetic, or at least one set is. I don't remember if this set is, but at least it holds that nut in there and gives you a little extra dexterity. There we are. And when you're putting things back together, don't tighten them all the way until everything is in, because you still need to be able to move things a little bit. Now that everything is in, we can tighten it. And let's make sure it works, shall we? Look at that. All fixed and ready to go. So that's all fixed and ready to go for later today. We're going to go back inside and have a late breakfast with the family. And then I'm going to go cut some firewood.